Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for X-Men 97 Season 2. We got to get the X-Men back to the 90s.
Show him what you made of.
Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for X-Men 97 Season 2, an apocalypse-sized thanks to our friends at Disney Studios Canada and Marvel Animation for letting us watch these episodes early for review. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, video games, and all things geek-centric. Of course, I can't do this alone. Joining me for this spoiler-free review, to me, my X-Men. He's the Juggernaut, bitch. He's Justin, the Jubilee Jammin', Juggernaut justifying Eric Lencher lovin' Lawrence.
I am an Eric Lencher lover. I do think that he's right in so many ways. Even though he has bad intentions or might seem to have bad intentions, he's got a good soul. He's got a good soul.
But are you an Eric Clencher fan? Do you like when he clenches?
No, he should let loose. He needs to let loose.
He
can't clench that, come on.
He's already clenched up enough.
Yeah, think about it. Jeez, his history and his past, he's dealt with clenching, okay? He is now, it's now time for him to unclench and just embrace, He
has to every time he lifts metal, he has to clench. Is that how it works?
Bro, come on. That would be a hard life to live if you had to clench all the time. You know what I mean? Just let loose. Let loose.
Speaking of letting loose, he's skydiving out of the X-Jet right now. He's the danger room defying, 90s era thriving Darcy, the havoc blasting Hudson.
I mean, I got the lame Summers kid. Come on. Not even
Why?
Cyclops.
He's cool. No,
Havoc's the lamest one.
I guess he's the youngest one, isn't he? He's the youngest of the three that they have? Because it would be.
Don't know the order. I know Scott's oldest, isn't he?
Oh, right. So sorry. So Scott, he's right. He's Scott's brother. He's not Scott's son. My apologies. I was mixing up. So it's Nathan and Rachel are the kids.
Yes, those are the future. The future
right.
Summers
those are the
generation.
future children. All right. So Havoc is the brother of. Yeah, he seems like he would be a whiny bitch.
He has the same powers, except like at least the punch dimension comes out of Cyclops' eyes. It comes out of Havoc's chest. That's no fun. A chest punch? No, eye punch.
I guess so, but having concussing lasers coming out of your eyes,
eye punches,
obviously, eye punches. I guess it's just a hard life for Cyclops. So Havoc at least has it somewhat easy. He could never really look at Jean into her eyes, right?
I was going to say, Darcy, your eyes are too beautiful to steal those from you. You know what I mean?
Well, I just gotta find a Jean who can hold back the powers. She does it for Cyclops all the time. So
that hits.
We'll find her one day. We'll find her one day, no matter what timeline we have to go to. Guys, we are back with the best thing Marvel Animation has ever made. Maybe Marvel has ever made. I'm so happy to be back. I wanted to ask before we dive into our thoughts on these first 4 episodes, because we were given the ability to watch the first 4 episodes of season 2. Would this, for each of you, rank at the top of your list for Marvel Animation?
It's definitely up there.
Yeah. I would say so. I think like I talked about it last season, but having been a fan of the show, like so many people of the 90s, and to be reintroduced to these characters, almost like no time has passed at all, but yet time has passed, and the show proves that time has passed because it's matured. Its attention has matured. Its storytelling has matured. Back when I was a kid, I would have never really recognized in terms of the sociological and like political sort of undertones of the messaging. Here, the show it's dead in your eyes. I think it's episode 2 if I'm not mistaken, with Magneto at the UN, which is
Mhm.
probably one of the best episodes from that season, along with so many others. Again, it proved that a cartoon show of the '90s still has legs to run in a new generation with storytelling that is powerful and meaningful.
Mhm.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I would say out of what Marvel Animation has produced, it's my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it my favorite. I'm really a big fan of Your Neighborhood Spider-Man, but this is probably
Yeah.
does the best job. I mean, it's what the original show did too, was faithfully adapting the comic stories. And it's not 100% true, but
Right.
it picks up those story beats that make the comic stories so impactful and meaningful. And this season and this series has just done a fantastic job of continuing that, where it's period accurate comic stories that are being told with a very faithful, you know, attention to detail and stuff like that. So I think it really works for me on that level for sure. Again, it's probably the best adaptation of comic material that we have from Marvel for sure.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is consistency, and we're going to get into it here with these first 4 episodes, but it is just so incredibly consistent episode to episode to episode. Let's get into the synopsis here for X-Men 97 Season 2. Season 2 continues with the heroic mutant team of X-Men divided and thrown across different eras in time as they struggle to navigate their return home. Meanwhile, back in the 90s, suspicious foes and new strains of mutant intolerance are on the rise in the wake of the X-Men's absence. The second season of the original animated series features 9 episodes, and the voice cast includes Ross Marquand, Matthew Watterson, Ray Chase, Jennifer Hale, Alison Seeley Smith, Gui Agostini, Allison Court, Adetokunbo McCormack, Holly Chu, Cal Dodd, Lenore Zahn, and George Buza. Marvel Animation's X-Men 97 Season 2 streams July 1st only on Disney Plus. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the look and feel of this season. We spoke at length about the look and feel of season 1 because, like you were saying, Justin, they managed to deliver that magic of that original series and that feel, but then feel perfectly like that balance between classic and modern. And like you said, it was matured. And from the first 4 episodes of season 2, I will say beyond that rush of like that feeling you get when you hear the intro again for the first time, like there isn't a ton that is completely different or new about the look and feel, but I will say I do think in episode 1 or 2 we definitely get moments of epicness in this score, in the musical score from the Newton brothers, but they're also delivering some incredible electronic xylophone sounds from the 90s that if you watched any 90s sitcom, the moment where characters would do something like sad or bad or sometimes even hopeful, you would hear this electronic xylophone, and I caught it immediately, and it was a moment surrounding Nathan Summers specifically, and the Newton brothers are cooking up a storm. It was the first thing that stood out to me when it comes to the look and feel, at least within season 2.
Yeah, that specific song, it reminded me of like Stranger Things kids kind of vibe, where it just kind of like it pivots for a second to like kind of give you a more heartfelt focused moment,
kind of like after school special vibes almost.
Yeah,
it's like, and here's the lesson of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Like Reading Rainbow style. I totally agree with you. I think that the Newton brothers are, they had fun in season 1, and I think they're definitely pushing it even further in season 2, and it's pretty apparent in the music.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it's they're living in the 90s space with the sound, and they're having a ball, and it fits so well for this 90 themed show. Again, it's crazy how we can have such nostalgia for something only 20 years past, but they do it so well in this series. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and just talking about the visuals, like I know, as you were saying, like we talked about it in great lengths in our spoiler free for season 1, and I think we might have done a spoiler fill that I can't recall. It's been so long and so many episodes in between, but I think one thing that obviously stood out to me from these 4 episodes that we got was just how confident it all feels, and the visual look is. It continues to build off of the original animated show while pushing the scale and the ambition even further. Like the animation in some ways feels bigger in some instances than last season. Um, the action is just as dynamic. The use of lighting and colors, it helps to create a setting and help identify each of these timelines. You know what I mean? Like each of them have their own mood and feel, and the way things are lit and the color palettes for specific moments. It just, again, it just feels so confident. And I love that it never loses sight of the emotional part of the story. You talked about Nathan, who's obviously Cable. Like we knew that there was going to be more of a focus on him, but then there's also a focus on Apocalypse as well, and just the color tone for that. I love how they were able to distinctly define each of these timelines through a visual style. That's just me. It just felt like it really stood out with the color palette and the choices that they made.
Yeah, and I think the way that they are honing in, and we talked about this a little bit on our Toy Story 5 review as well, of like the idea of kind of changing up the look and feel of the show based on what characters they're focusing on at that time. You definitely get that in even just these first episodes. Let's talk about the characters. I think immediately a highlight for me within these first 4 episodes has to be Holly Chu as Jubilee. I think gets an incredible moment in episode 2 involving music and her signature rollerblades, and it just rocks. Like it's just one of those like hell yeah moments. It felt very much like a James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy style moment, but not in like a cheap way like they're ripping it off, but in a way that just felt like it serviced the character so well. I want to throw it to you, Darcy. Who's a character that you want to highlight from these first 4 episodes?
Well, I mean, we got to see him a bit in the last season and in the earlier series too, but anytime I get to see X-Men 97's version of Cable on the screen is fantastic, and we get to spend a bit more time with him, both again across multiple timelines this time around, and it's just really cool exploring his role and how he was raised as this messiah, and now we're seeing him as this warrior at the end of his, or further down his lifespan and stuff like that. It's really cool to see, and again, just an exciting story to follow along. This is very faithful and true to the comics, and we're getting comic accurate stories here, which is really cool.
Yeah, and Cable is, we get to sort of see how kind of ruthless he can be in these first 4 episodes. And I know that's a little bit more into story, but I think I'm also really enjoying Cable quite a bit. Justin, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think you guys have called out the 2 characters that stood out to me from these 4 episodes. Jubilee. Specifically Jubilee, because I think she was always seen as, especially in the earlier show, as a bit of a victim. She was kind of like the gateway into introducing us to the X-Men in the original animated series. What's nice is that in these like 4 episodes, we do get a nice sort of look at her strength and what she's able to bring and how confident she is. So I love that we've kind of pivoted from her being kind of like this young victim that, everyone needs to look out for because she's just a kid, to like, she can stand her own, right? Especially at a time when the X-Men are all missing, if you will. So yeah, I think that's great. Cable, love seeing more of his story, but I think how that parallels with Apocalypse is really interesting. So seeing that parallel of like his growth and development as he's younger, leading to where we would find Cable, and then also the same thing for Apocalypse, seeing him as En Sabanur all the way up to the future. To see those 2 characters' perspectives kind of intertwined in that way, it's really compelling. It's really interesting stuff. And yeah, Apocalypse is, I think you said it best, Nate. He's a Thanos level villain that is getting his just desserts in this show.
Yeah. Yeah, it is one of those things where I think that's the best thing about great Marvel villains, is when we do get to see both sides of that coin. And that's what these first 4 episodes, and I think overall season 2 will do. I think Adetokunbo McCormack plays En Sabanur, and he is delivering these lines, like he is nailing the poetic delivery, the grandiose delivery that just hits right in the chest and never comes across as corny, and kind of very much feels like the same performance were, from Magneto in previous season and in this season. I think the bars are just going off. Like, of course, that has to do with the writers, but also how these lines are delivered. But it is only through struggle that one comes to understand the true value of power. Is just crazy. Like some of these things that they're having these people say, and the way that they're able to deliver them it's just unbelievable. And I know it's just, again, it sounds like more of what we got in season one, but to what you just said and what I tweeted out was like, yeah, I do really think there is the opportunity that that Apocalypse will be so much more than he ever was in the live action version of these stories. Thankfully,
Oh yeah,
and also a character that can hold as much weight as a Thanos on the animated side, which is so exciting.
He was completely interesting and just as compelling in the original animated show. It was just that we didn't get enough of of a sort of deep dive where it's like understanding his origins. He was just sort of like the threat that everyone already knew about, and they just kind of plopped him in. And there was a couple different stories with him over the course of, I think the various seasons. I can't think of how many seasons they had of it.
I think it was 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. I know I remember at least 3 or 4 episodes of him in it. Some of them were back to backs, others were, kind of sprinkled throughout, and he would just kind of show up as being like the villain for, that episode into maybe another one. I love Oscar Isaac, don't get me wrong, but that was the worst story of Apocalypse, I think.
Yeah.
It tried to delve into the idea of his history and his origins and sprinkling that through, but this is where TV beats movies sometimes, right? We've talked about this. We spend more time. We get to evolve and understand a character's progression through the arc of a show versus a 2.5 hour movie that things are obviously being omitted. Things are being sped up, overlooked for the purpose of we need to move the story forward. I think the only character that's really kind of been a compelling villain is Thanos. It's a very hard task to kind of make you care and appreciate for a villain in a one movie sort of situation. I think you have to do it. You have to treat it with the right etiquette and the right writing. So I think here with this show, we get to explore, this very massive villain who does have a, multi-timeline spanning history. And I think it's just the best way that you could explore that is only through television, is only through episodic storytelling, right? It's, look at comics, they're episodic stories, right? So I think it fits the model, if you will.
And he seems like a character that is kind of almost so big that he could be never ending and just continue on as this massive threat. Darcy, we were kind of talking about this on one of our recent car rides too. I'm getting choked up over how fantastic this villain can be. But we were talking about this and you were kind of saying like, he is all consuming, never ending.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like in the comics specifically, a lot of the timeline and dimension hopping stuff is tied to the X-Men almost as much as it's tied to Fantastic Four. So the fact that they are constantly meddling with time and bringing new timelines into existence and messing stuff up is that there's always going to be a chance that an apocalypse from another timeline is going to come to ours, even if we defeat our timeline or something like that. So like, again, there's always a void that will be filled in the main universe, and Apocalypse will always be there to fill that void, basically. So it's really cool how comics can do that, and how we're kind of starting to explore that in the various mediums without going into the huge multiverse of it all. It can be looser. I think it needs to be looser. That's what the comics are like, and it needs to be like that in the visual mediums as well. Yeah.
And in these 4 episodes, we also get some fantastic moments in action with Cyclops. We get some fantastic moments. There's an incredible Storm moment. Of course there is, because she's a freaking goddess. And then I also want to shout out Morph for just doing some more cool Morph shit, and also just being the like comedic side of this story so well. Like a few moments that I was just like belly laughing at Morph. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. We've been talking about the story without talking about the spoilers of the story, and we're going to continue to do so. I do want to say before we go further, if you're listening to this and you've gotten to this point and you're about to click play on episode 1 of season 2, if you haven't recently watched season 1, and if you aren't as familiar like Darcy is with like the comics and just all the stories that came before, I might recommend giving season 1 a rewatch. I might even recommend, if you don't have time for that, a 15-minute YouTube breakdown of season 1, just because I will say for myself, I personally did feel a little disoriented coming into the first of these 4 episodes. I think it very quickly establishes the pace really well.
Yep.
Justin, you brought up earlier that, we're in 3 different timelines, right? We're in ancient Egypt, 3000 BCE, the 40th century, 3960 AD, and as well also where we left Jubilee and Sunspot back in the 90s. And so the way that these first 4 episodes are structured and paced is fantastic. But I would just suggest, I think the Previously On does a good enough job of sort of giving you a brief understanding of what is about to happen in the episode. But I was a little bit lost and had to pause and sort of think a little bit more than you might be expecting to.
Yeah, no, it kind of drops you right into it, and I would recommend at least watching that last episode just to see how things end. Basically, that's the best way to start off this season for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I went in to it. I wanted to see the Previously On first, and I think the show stayed in my mind pretty well. So I was able to be like, okay, I think I know where we're at, and things kind of moved along, and I didn't feel like I was lost, like in other instances when I've watched shows and I've just felt like, oh God, it's been so long since I've watched this. I need to
coming
go back
to Stranger Things for the final season.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even like House of Dragon, coming up soon. Like I feel like I need to watch a recap before starting to watch that. So I definitely I think it's okay because to do that, especially if you've already watched it, and really just watching a recap when I've done it in the past for Stranger Things, it was helpful because everything just kind of clicked and kind of fell into place very quickly. But yeah, I like how it just kind of plops you in, especially given the last few moments of the final episode of season 1, where we see that the team has been disbanded and broken up, and some are in the past, some are in the future, and whatever's left in the present, they're trying to figure out how they can navigate and get the X-Men back. So it was cool that they didn't really need to do very much hand holding. It just kind of like throws you into it. But that said, yeah, like if you are feeling a little lost, watch a recap.
Yeah. And I mean, I think as much as I was a bit disoriented, it is something that I really do appreciate about this show and the way that it handles sort of the idea of like, we are just going to stay true to what these stories are supposed to be and not necessarily try to do the thing that will sort of ease people in or make it easier for people. Like, I'm okay with it personally. I'm just saying, yeah, watch something. I do think we get to quickly establish the ramifications of what happens in a timeline where the X-Men have disappeared. And I think that was one of the most interesting parts about these 4 episodes. Getting to sort of see how the world is equal parts depressing and intriguing at the same time, like who fills that role for humanity and how that all works. They highlight the government side of things really quickly as well, which is cool from a world building standpoint. And I think just showcasing how that element of the story has developed is important for, again, bringing up some of those more like moral complex questions that exist within this series. And I love that this show is continuing to do what X-Men has always been so good at, and what we've sort of been talking about is asking these complex questions, right? And we very much get to see that on both sides, not just the villains, but also for the heroes. And when we talk, coming from the Star Wars side of fandoms, like when we talk about Andor, that is one of the like key features of the writing of that show, and we're seeing a lot of that maturity in this series as well in season 2.
Yeah, I think one of the things that continues to impress me about X-Men 97 is the freedom it has compared to almost every other Marvel project. I think Nate, you and I were kind of talking offline about this, but it feels like they're not beholden to like which character or what they can do or how they can use them. It's the 90s, it's 1997. It's like they can do whatever they want. And I think a lot of that has to do because it's animated, because it's embracing decades of X-Men history, comic book history, and because it's not tied to the limitations of a live action production. The show can tell stories on a scale that would be incredibly difficult to do in another medium in many ways.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that, again, that original series in the 90s was doing the same thing where it was adapting the
Yeah.
comics and just telling the stories as the comics put them, which was dealing with those more serious topics. While they didn't go as deep as the current seasons are doing, it was still there. And the fact that we're just taking that and building and aging it up now, it works so well for this medium. And it's so cool to see, again, the faithfulness. I'm a huge fan of comics, and like my uncle's early collection was that 90s stuff that I was reading. And so a lot of my early stories were these X-Men stories. So like getting to see them come to life on screen like this is really neat.
Yeah, I also wonder, like, I think too, it has a lot to do with even just thinking about last season, like some of the like surprise cameos or just other characters that we would see suddenly just pop up. Like even at the end of season one, I think we saw like 90s Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like we saw MJ and Peter Parker. Like again, just that freedom of just being able to say, like, hey, we're gonna take whatever the hell we want from this and just put it in. Like I was surprised last season we didn't see like a Moon Knight or a Blade show up in there. You know what I mean? Like just for the sake of it being a 90s version of those characters. But again, that's not to say that that couldn't happen. Who's to say that we can't see anyone from the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Marvel Universe just show up as like some background character or
They
something that's
exist in the
happening.
universe. Again, it just
Exactly.
deepens
They
this
exist
universe
in
of
the
heroes.
universe. Exactly. And I think that's fantastic. I think that just allows so much freedom for them to just do whatever they want.
And that is also, I think, something that is so compelling to think about in that sense of like, for MCU fans, right? For MCU fans who maybe haven't necessarily watched the back catalog or have watched all those episodes, the ability for them to, I think we talk all the time about the MCU, about the villain problem of the MCU, but then they also have a big problem of, hey, here's a cool thing at the end of the credits. When will that pay off? We don't know. Maybe never. I don't know. Are we going to ever see Harry Styles again? I don't know. And so the idea that that character could show up in this series, like anyone, to your point, Justin, could show up in this show.
If Harry Styles shows up in X-Men 97, I will do a slow clap.
Come on. That would be incredible.
If he's playing Harry Styles, he'd be a child because, again, it's set in 97.
True.
So.
True. Would he be born?
If he's playing Harry Styles, sure.
Yeah. But what was his character's name? What is it? Eros? Star Fox is his other name. Yeah. It'd be so sick. I don't think they'll call him Star Fox. I think Nintendo will get mad, but no, I think that would be so cool to see just some of these other characters also, like Moon Knight or like you're saying, right? These characters that have just been sort of stuck in that all the red tape, if you will, of the film side of things, to just be able to say, hey, we're going to play with these toys and people are going to love it.
Well, it's funny because you had a chance to talk with Brad Winderbaum and Brian Andrews for What If Season 3, and they talked about trying to bring in Blade, but they couldn't because obviously like Marvel Zombies was very like aligned with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they didn't necessarily want to bring in a character that they hadn't fully explored in live action because that's kind of the appeal with it. So instead they decided to like take Blade, take Moon Knight and merge it together and create a whole new character. And that's interesting in itself. But to your point, X-Men 97 doesn't need to necessarily worry about that because they could do their version of a Blade or a Moon Knight in its own right. There's just so many different ways that they could handle those two characters. And I use those as examples just in relation to what the outcome was for Marvel Zombies, and why we got a character like that versus here we can see other canonical versions of these characters show up in this. And I think that's tons of fun. And that's sort of the fun surprise of this show.
Yeah. I think getting back to the season 2 of it all specifically, obviously we've only watched the first 4 episodes, so we're not going to give like a final score or anything. I think we'd probably be all at a 5 out of 5 if we had to give it a rating
10
just
out of 5,
off these 4 episodes alone. But I wanted to ask each of you, and we'll start with Darcy, what episode out of these 4 did you enjoy the most, and are you most excited for fans to see?
Okay, those are 2 different questions, which is funny enough. 2 different answers for me, too. I mean, I think the episode I enjoyed the most was the first episode. I mean, my favorite mutant was heavily featured in that episode, so I always love seeing my short little angry Canadian. So going forward than that, though, that 4th episode has one of the greatest reveals in this series so far, and I think seeing it coming as a comic book fan was fantastic, and knowing people who aren't going to see it coming I think it's going to be even sweeter for them. So I can't wait to see people talking about that episode in particular. Yeah.
Very cool. Justin, how about yourself?
Well, before I get to that,
Yeah.
I did want to kind of talk a little bit more about this show.
Oh, sure.
In regards to story, because I am just blown away at how this story is able to move across from different points in time. Like it is so, like you called it out. It's so well paced, and to have such a massive ensemble of characters and to sprinkle them through different timelines, it is fantastic. I think this does such a great job of honoring the X-Men comics, like the 90s X-Men comic, while also just diving deeper into that mythology that I am just so here for. Like, I think if you're a fan of this, you're of what we got in season 1, wait till you see season 2. Like, it is going to be so good. It basically trusts the audience to just come along for the ride. And I love that. I think, you know, it never feels overwhelming in these first 4 episodes. It never feels like I'm like, oh, what happened in this one? You know, it all just works. And the best part is that it doesn't lose the heart. It doesn't lose that idea about family and legacy and just this idea of identity. And again, that kind of parallels between what we see of between the storylines of Nathan / Cable and, you know, Apocalypse's journey. It's so well done. It's just the confidence that this show has is incredibly refreshing. It's not worried about basically setting up for some big roadmap of things. It just feels it's very focused on telling the best story it can tell. And these 4 episodes are absolutely fantastic at that. It takes bigger swings. It embraces the weird in a lot of ways. It gets timey-wimey. And I think it, you know, to Darcy's point, it is fully leaning in to its comic book roots in some of the best ways. And yeah, to answer your question, I think my favorite episode was 2. And the one that I'm excited for people to see the most is episode 4, for the exact same reasons that Darcy said. There are some very cool revelations in that. And I really enjoyed it, but I think 2 is just an absolute rock star banger episode that fans are just going to go, hell yeah. You'll be saying hell yeah at one point or another through every single episode, but like definitely episode 2 was like a huge, like, hell yeah, fist pump moment.
Yeah, episode 2 it's the same for me. I think both answers of favorite and who I can't wait to see is episode 2, because I'm just excited for like the gifs and all the different things to come out of this. And, you know, the internet loves to do that with this series. And I do think that, yeah, it's just such a great balance of what makes this show so great. It is a balance of fun, adventure, but then there is that moral questioning that I was referring to earlier in that episode that really stands out. And I'm intrigued to sort of see how that element is pushed even further as we go on. But yeah, man, yeah, it's so good. The show is so good. The story is so good. The characters are so good.
I can't wait for more, man.
Like,
I want it all now.
Yeah.
I feel like we will have to do some sort of follow up. You were talking about this as well, Nate. Like, I could see the first 2 episodes being like a day 1 drop to really set the tone, and then we get into like weekly drops. But Disney Plus has been trying to do something where it's not like they absorb a whole, you know, like 10 weeks of a streaming show, right? It's like they'll front load maybe like the first 4 episodes if it was an 8 episode season on day 1, and then it's 4 weeks of individual episodes, and that's roughly like just over a month, or right, you know, like a 6-week span.
Didn't they do 2 episodes a week for Mall when they were releasing that? Wasn't that
they did, and they did that more so to line up with May the 4th, but that also just lined up with like 5 weeks of content. So it's like, again, like they could choose that strategy with this, but last season it was a weekly drop, and the weekly discussions that people were having about every single episode was massive.
Yeah.
So like, I think that this show has already garnered the attention and focus that it could carry a week to week release. But if that's the case, then we're waiting quite a while before we get any more episodes. So, you know, we did it for the podcast. Did it for you.
We did it for you. That's it. Yeah. Really looking forward to more. But that is it for our spoiler-free discussion for X-Men 97 Season 2, Episodes 1 to 4. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to share your thoughts on this series or any of the movies or series we cover, well, let me just reach out through time back to Justin in the 90s so he can have the foresight to provide you with the deep understanding of what you're meant to do in order to contact us in the future.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at geekcentricyt, or they can find us on Instagram and TikTok at wearegeekcentric. Wow. I didn't know I knew that in the 90s. That's crazy.
I was going to say, you sound exactly the same in the 90s as you do now. Would you have
My balls dropped really
They
early,
dropped very early for him, so he had time to get to that deepness.
Yeah, is that the same time you got your powers, right? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Your ball drop.
That's when they kick in.
You're
It's
clenching.
puberty related,
Exactly.
man.
Oh no. Keep in mind we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for Toy Story 5, Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day, Masters of the Universe, Spider-Noir, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Plus, we've got some great interviews to check out, like our recent interview with the team at Pixar behind Toy Story 5. Justin traveled farther than his backyard and even past the Pizza Planet all the way to Disneyland to sit down with director Andrew Stanton, co-director Kenna Harris, and producer Lindsay Collin, as well as production designer Bob Pauly and VFX supervisor Thomas Jordan, where they discussed stories they told with their toys growing up, what they've taken away from their time at Pixar, and the importance of collaboration while working on such a beloved franchise. We also have our recent Summer Game Fest discussion where Darcy and I break down all the upcoming games that we're stoked for that were announced and featured during SGF week, including, the big bub himself, Wolverine. Still cannot wait for Insomniac's Wolverine. It's going to be so good.
Well, dude, I'm looking forward to the animated suit. I mean, Spider-Man got an animated suit in his game. Give me a X-Men 97 Wolverine animated suit in this one, please.
Bro. Insomniac, if somehow.
Oh, you're gonna get it. That would be
100%.
That's gonna be a skin that you'll be able to pay for, and it'll be well worth it for people to just be able to yeah. Imagine you make the whole game look like that. Oh man, that'd be great.
Well, I mean, the Spider-Man would put a filter on it.
Dude, am I too greedy to ask for the way he looks at the beginning of this season?
Yes, that's what I want. Yeah, give me past Wolverine.
That hairdo is incredible with the mutton chops. So be sure to check out those discussions as well as all of our interviews, either here on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. That is it for now, but we've got so much more coming soon. Supergirl is coming up, House of the Dragon Season 3, like Justin had been mentioning, The Bear, final season of The Bear, mind you, a new Spider-Man movie, and definitely more and more great and geeky
and we
things.
hope to cover it all.
We're hoping.
Figure that all out.
We're hoping.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Listen, I think one way or another, we will be talking about it.
We'll cover it
on this podcast because it is getting hot in here. So hot. It's getting hot in here. So take off all your clothes.
I think you should just end the episode.
Yeah, please stop it.
The hot geek summer is here, and it's getting so hot and geeky. Follow along Geekcentric because we are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this this bub of an episode, the spoiler-free discussion.
This is what happens when we leave you to your own devices of just trying to spitball. You drag it on.
It works.
Sure.
All
right, Bob.
If that's what the people want. Anyways, as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.